This question that I get asked a lot by hoopers is that if you're slower as a defensive player compared to the offensive player who's more shifty, more fast, or like more explosive than you, what should you do to kind of stay in front of them, right? The simple answer to that is that there's no shortcut, and unfortunately, the only way that you can kind of get better than them is to really develop your speed and acceleration. So if you don't have the speed, the strength, or the explosiveness, 90% of the time, you're going to be getting blown by these offensive players who are much faster and much more explosive, and there's really not much that you can do about it. But I know that you're struggling to find a solution for it, so I broke this down into 5 categories for us to discuss about today. So we're going to break this down into 2 big categories, and the first one will be the software, and the second will be the hardware. So for the software, it's really about your brain speed, your reaction speed, your footwork, your ability to pull out, the defensive footwork in a matter of split seconds, and being able to have the defensive IQ to make the reads and making the right rotation. So that's kind of more of the software, which is more neurological, right? And for the hardware, it's really about more of your physical strength, your core strength, your quad strength, your ability to accelerate, right? Your ability to be sprinting top speed, your ability to change directions quickly, your agility. That's going to be a lot of the hardware. So mainly, we're going to break down the software into 2 categories, which will come down into defensive footwork, right, and the brain speed. And for the hardware, we're going to break this down into speed, your strength, and your mobility. So for the first one here, the defensive footwork, right, most of the times, if you're a slower player on the defensive end and you're having to guard a faster player, most times doing lateral slides is not going to help you stay in front of them because you just don't have the physical hardware to kind of be in their way, just because they have a very quick and explosive first step. So it's going to make it very hard for you to stay in front of them. So what I will recommend is performing some crossover steps to kind of cover a bigger distance and try to anticipate where they're going, right? So let's say, for example, if you know that the player is likes to slash a lot and likes to drive all the way to the rim, you really want to try to beat them to their spot, maybe on their driving lane instead of where they're going. So let's say there's 2 players here, right? And you're the defensive, let's say this is the defensive player, this is the offensive player, and in between here is the 3-point line. So let's say if you get blown by like this, right? And the rim is behind it and you go for the layup, right? You want to make sure, like, you're trying to, let's say he gets to blow by you here, right? You're trying to get him or like get into his driving lane about here. So then you're actually cutting him off, okay? So you're not trying to actually beat behind him, right? Because he's already much faster than you. You want to beat him to his spot in order to stop him from driving all the way to the basket to get an easy bucket. So another thing would be sideways running. So this is very, very good, especially in the full court setting when you are having to guard a faster player and you know that you still want to give him some full court pressure to kind of delay the play or just shaving off some time off the shot clock, right? And sideways running is going to be great for you to kind of still stay on the side and still being able to be in striking distance for a steal if you're a slower player compared to him. So for these 2 footwork, I will highly recommend more than your lateral slides. If you're a slower player, it still has its use for lateral slides. Not saying I'm disregarding it. It's just that if you're guarding a faster player, I would probably recommend those 2 in order for you to catch up to him. And one more footwork that I kind of really want to talk about is your closeout. So defensively, right, there's going to be rotations, there's going to be, after pick and rolls, there's going to be scramble around, right? Closing out is going to be a big part of your defensive game plan and potentially most of your defense, all right? So playing one-on-one on-ball defense is great if you're able to get a stop here and there, right? But the more important thing is integrating this back into a 5-on-5 setting where you have 4 other players that you need to coordinate with and be teammates with, and being able to close out well on rotations is going to be a big part or much bigger part than you being able to guard defensively individually one-on-one. So having the right footwork of being able to go straight into a 3-step decel and not doing choppy steps will be a huge advantage for you to close out onto shooters and try to decel all that momentum. So this will kind of link more back into the hardware system, but if you're able to have the right closeout footwork, right, it will help you a lot with being able to change direction, stopping on the dime, and being able to react to the offensive player changing directions. Moving on to the second category is the brain speed. So it's basically your ability to anticipate moves. So let's say if I'm doing a floating crossover that KD or Kevin Durant uses a lot, there is really only maybe like 3 or 4 moves out of it that you can use. So for example, he can go here, right after floating crossover, he can go into a pull-up. He can, from here, go straight back into another crossover. He can go here into a drive, right? Or he can do here and go into a step back. So maybe around 3 to 4 moves out of that. So if you're able to really anticipate well, you can basically know where the offensive player might be going, depending on his tendencies, and you're able to block off his drive or his shot option a little earlier, just because you're anticipating it and you're able to, make it up for the lack of speed that you have currently. And the second thing here is the reaction speed. So that's your ability, right, to look at the offensive player, and the moment that you see him move, right, you're able to have a reaction to it, right, to able to catch up onto them, yeah? So the reaction speed is really about your brain and your body as well, to be able to synchronize quickly, right? To be able to see a movement and react accordingly to it, yeah? And this will lead into the third thing, which is basically your latency or delay between the brain signal and the movement. So sometimes our reaction speed is so good, right? We're able to see that he's driving right or driving towards the left, but our body is not able to synchronize with it and is kind of slacking or like having a little bit of a delay or glitch. And by the time that our body is able to move, the offensive player is already kind of blown by, and we basically lose position and can't, recover for it defensively. So if you're able to reduce the latency between your brain sending signals to your body and your muscles, so that's going to help with you recovering quickly on defense and staying in front of the offensive player. And a solution for improving your reaction speed will be, doing some catch drills, right? Maybe it's like here, and then you're just trying to catch it immediately with your hand-eye coordination. That's going to be very helpful. You can do some foot juggling as well, some foot and eye coordination. That will really, really help with your visual system and peripheral system to react to stimulus. So I would highly recommend you doing more tennis ball drills with drop and catch to really work on that reaction speed. And to improve on reducing the latencies between your brain and your body by doing more weight room work, by doing more plyometrics, those will really, really help with developing your ability to develop that mind-muscle connection, so that your brain is able to fire rapid signals or fire quicker signals to your muscles, so that you're able to react quicker and basically minimize the delay as much as possible. So for the next category, we're going to move on into hardware, and we're going to be talking about strength first. So in terms of strength, there's quite a few areas that I'll be looking at in order to get you into becoming a more elite perimeter defensive pest. So first thing, it'll definitely be your lower back and core. This is going to be huge in terms of maintaining your upright torso and being able to handle contact whilst you're defending the offensive player. The second thing would be your adductor and abductor strength. So basically your groin muscles here and your glute muscles to be able to bound out laterally. The third thing, it will definitely be your quads. So being able to hit the D cells real hard when you're closing out or when you're about to change direction after you see the offensive player change directions. And finally, to really improve your speed, right? The posterior chain with your glutes and your hamstrings is going to be the main engine of your body. So if we're able to improve on all those 5 areas, you're going to be a much better perimeter defender and basically be able to hold your ground a little bit better when they're driving it in and you're taking a contact whilst doing a contact slide, or when they're bumping into you. And one bonus thing is that the stronger you are, the more explosive your muscles, and that will really, really help with your acceleration and top end speed. Real quick interruption here. If you're trying to improve your defense like Oliver Su or Glenn Yang, I've got a free community in the group description below called the Gains Chamber to help you become more explosive, more strong, and become a better elite defender. Check it out below, and back to the video. So now onto the fourth category with the hardware, and that's going to be your mobility. So having great hip and adductor mobility is going to be huge for you to be able to move laterally, and being able to access those ranges of motion will be able to help you with your crossover steps, your sideways running, and being able to slide and bound out even more because you have that access of range of motion. So if you really look at Davion Mitchell or Drew Holiday, and even Avery Bradley, they have great adductor mobility, and some of them, so if I recall correctly, Davion Mitchell can almost do a pancake split, and he has very, very good adductor and groin mobility, which could be a huge factor on how he plays defense and why he's such a great defensive player overall. And of course, not only about the hips and adductors, your ankles is also going to be a huge factor in terms of how you can plant your ankle in inversion or eversion to be able to change directions quickly. Our ability to change direction is only going to be as strong as the foundation of our ankles, transferring the energy all the way up to the knees, to the hips, then up to the upper body. So if we don't have ranges of motion in the ankles, then we're not able to plant out in the direction that we want even more, right? To change the directions at a more acute angle or at a sharp angle to cut off the offensive player. And finally, the last thing, the thing that we want to talk about most is the hardware, but it's going to be about the speed and plyometrics. So if we really talk about plyometrics, right? So I'm sure that most of us are already doing sprints in a linear fashion. So sprinting down 20 or 50 meters, right? Straight lane down to it and just running as fast as possible. Those are going to be huge for you developing your acceleration, your max velocity, which will be great for developing your quick first step as well. But we also want to incorporate some lateral plyometrics. So, jumping side to side, like lateral leaps, right? To really work on your ability of the ankles to jump side to side. Doing lateral hops, that's going to be great as well. Some lateral bounding to really try to get this foot over the top with a crossover bound, right? And of course, you also want to work on your lateral chain strength. And I strongly believe that most athletes are not incorporating enough lateral plyometrics, even though they get a lot of reps on the court already with being able to change direction left and right for crossovers, behind the back, between legs, and even defensively. I think that by dosing more of that in the track or on an open court with specific movements is going to hone in on that ability even further to help you move better laterally and be able to become a better defensive player. And lastly, the speed aspect. So we talked a little bit about the lateral plyometrics, right? To be able to incorporate some changes of direction plows into your routine to help you move better laterally. But we don't want to neglect any of the linear stuff, which is like the sprinting, the bounds, the hops in kind of like forward and back motion to really improve your mechanics of accelerating and reaching top end speed. And that will 100% help with having a quicker first step as well. And by incorporating more top end speed and acceleration work, it really helps with improving your RFD, which is a rate of force development. So basically your force impulse into the floor to generate force, go from 0 to 100. And by developing those qualities, especially developing good acceleration, you'll be able to react to drives much faster, react to maybe sudden cuts, sudden backdoor cuts, and even screens by opponents to reposition yourself better defensively. So hopefully I've given you enough tips on the different categories on what you might need to work on more to develop your ability to become a faster defensive player. And for most of you who've watched almost to the end of the video, I really recommend you guys working on your hardware to really become much stronger and much more explosive, which will 100% help with your ability to defend. But if you're already a very, very fast player, having the software aspect will probably do more benefits for you. And before this video ends, if you really want to improve your defensive game, you can check out the group description below with my free Gains Chamber community, where there are free programs within it to help you with your strength, with your speed, and basically having the footwork of defensively to break it down for you. So if you're interested, check it out. It's for free, no strings attached, and hopefully I'll see you on the inside.